Hello and welcome to Films for the Very First Time. My name is Jordan. With me, as always, is Casey McGeorge.
Oh, I'm a big, bright, shining star. How's it going, everybody?
Is going good. We are on our fifth episode of season 3 at this time, and your third pick here. But for people that don't know, this is you know first listen. Each every other week, each episode, we pick either a movie or a TV show that the other one has not seen. We also have something called a wild card where we pick a movie that ourself has never seen, but the other host has. And we are also introducing something I'm going to be calling like the endless scroll. You know, when you're on Netflix and you're just constantly scrolling and you don't know what to watch, and you just go back to a classic instead of actually trying something new. We're going to be introducing, it's like a second wild card, but it's a movie that both of us has never seen. So that might come later down the pipe here, but
Yeah, it's going to
um,
be something as you're scrolling through one of these streaming services that you happen to, it pops up in the what's new or newly added or whatever it is. And it's like they made a movie on that or hey, this person's in it. And you probably add it to your list, but you never actually
never
get around
watch it.
to watching it because you always go back to whatever it is that you normally watch all the time. So, yeah, we're probably about to watch some bad stuff too because of that.
It depends. It depends if there might be some gems, but
I doubt it.
uh,
I seriously doubt it.
what is your what movie are we talking about? In case if people did not read the title of the video or episode.
Okay, so I decided to take us back to 1997. And going back to 1997, director and screenwriter Paul Thomas Anderson takes us back to the late 70s and early 80s, a time that is considered the golden age of the adult film industry. And there's lots of cocaine, and it's a wild time. We're going to the San Fernando Valley, which is not too far away from me here. We're going to watch Boogie Nights. So Boogie Nights, like I said, written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, starring Mark Wahlberg as a busboy named Eddie Adams, who eventually goes by the name of Dirk Diggler, what might be the greatest adult entertainment name in the history of man. Julianne Moore, Burt Reynolds, Don Cheadle, John C. Riley, William H. Macy, Heather Graham, Nicole Larry Parker, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Luis Guzman. We probably didn't know it at the time because a lot of these people might still have been on the come up in their Hollywood careers. This was a goddamn stacked cast, man. This was unbelievable. Looking back at it now, I think I read in the notes it had 2 future Academy Award winners and like 6 or 7 Academy Award nominees in the cast.
That's crazy.
It was released at the Toronto International Film Festival on September 11th, 1997. Got its worldwide release in Los Angeles on October 10th of 1997. At a budget of $15 million, box office, it made $43.1 million. It was nominated for 3 Academy Awards at the 1998 Academy Awards. You want to take a guess on what it was nominated for?
Oh, I looked it up. I
Okay.
know. It's what
Best original
screenplay,
screenplay, best
supporting
supporting
actor,
actor, and
and
best
supporting
supporting
actors.
actor.
Yeah.
That Academy Award was dominated by Titanic, secondarily dominated by Good Will Hunting. So best original screenplay lost out to Good Will Hunting. Burt Reynolds was nominated for best supporting actor. He lost out to Robin Williams from Good Will Hunting. Julianne Moore for best supporting actress lost out to Kim Basinger of LA Confidential. That goes
That's what I
back
was going to say. We
another one of our
remember during that LA Confidential episode, we went back to 1997 Oscars and we're looking up stuff because we were like, what beat this? Oh, yeah, it's Titanic, the year of the
that was the
Titanic. So
yeah
we visited 97 a couple times now.
yeah and look, in all fairness, Titanic was, I know you still haven't seen it,
Yeah, that might be an episode.
It,
We
it,
might visit 97 again.
it Titanic deserved the acclaim that it got. I'm not a huge fan of the story or whatever, as far as what happened in the movie, but that's my own personal thoughts. And there's other people. I'm sure we'll get to that somewhere down the road in many years.
It doesn't feel like a James Cameron movie in the sense of like what he typically makes. I was kind of like, oh, he's done Titanic. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, especially when you see like Terminator, Terminator 2,
True Lies,
the Alien stuff. Yeah, True Lies. See more action adventure stuff, and
yeah,
it's Avatar stuff now.
Yeah.
It's a lot more. You know, you're looking at that and you're like, wait, this is James Cameron, but yeah, different story. Um, so I did not see this in the movie theater. 1997. Graduated high school in May of 1997. Shipped out the basic training for the Army in October. The rest of 97, I was in basic training. I went to Korea in February of 1998.
Wow.
My first duty station as an 18-year-old. And I think I rented this from one of the video stores in Korea. So that's where I first saw Boogie Nights. I'd heard it
so
was.
hold on. How does that work in the sense of like, was it like an on base video store? Okay.
So the main store is called. It used to be called AFES, AAFES, Army and Air Force Exchange Services.
Yeah.
It's just it's changed its name now to just the exchange because it's the same store that basically functions for all.
I've been in
Army
there.
and Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, Space Force, stuff like that. So that's the department store on the bases, and then they have what's called little shopettes. Basically, those are like your 7-Elevens, your Wawas, your little convenience store.
There's a Burger King on ours, but yeah.
Well, no, but like they'll have like smaller stores that are basically like going to be like a 7-Eleven.
Okay.
Or just like a little mini mart because you might be going to work and want to grab a Monster, grab a soda,
right.
Grab whatever, right? Grab something quick for lunch or grab a snack on the way home, stuff like that. Plus your main store and your commissary, which functions as a grocery store, closed at a certain time. So your shopette, is going to be open, better hours and possibly 24 hours a day. In those, a lot of them had video rental places because you might have people who don't have a lot of transportation. They can't make it off post here stateside, right? They might not have vehicles or public transportation doesn't really exist in some of those areas. Some of these military installations are pretty rural areas, like in the middle of nowhere. Or like when you're overseas, Korea, Japan, the Philippines, whatever, it's easier to do that. So they had like a little video rental section, a little video rental store. And you give them your ID and they have your information and you can rent movies for a couple bucks for a couple of nights or whatever, and so on and so forth. So it was a way for us to kind of still be connected to home without being home. So yeah, I would roll down there. Same thing. Back then, Tuesdays was new movies and new music day, right? New video game day. That's when things were released back then. What was it? On G4 TV, on XPlay, they had a segment called DVD Tuesday or something like that. And they talk about new releases and stuff that came out that week. But yeah, so stuff used to come out on Tuesday, and typically, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you go down there, check out what's new or something you haven't seen, pick it up. Back then, it was still VHS. Then later it turned to DVDs, and then grab your DVD, and grab you some beer, popcorn, soda, whatever, and then go home and watch a movie. So I didn't get a chance to see this in theaters. Like I said, I probably saw it, probably rented it in Korea, or if not in Korea, when I got my next duty station, because Korea is only a year-long tour, or at the time it was a year-long tour when you go over there. Maybe when I got to Fort Stewart in like February of '99, February of '98. At some point, I probably might have went to a video store on Fort Stewart or outside of Fort Stewart in Hinesville, Georgia, and rented Boogie Nights. Um, what is your what was your exposure to, or why have you not seen Boogie Nights up until this
Real quick, your mic is going kind of in and out.
point? Okay.
Like just getting soft and then like back to normal. So I'm not sure. We'll see how it goes throughout this. Boogie Nights. I've heard of it. Um, didn't know until last episode that it was about the porn industry or anything. I just thought it was like a 70s like disco movie.
Okay, so here's the thing before you go on. I don't think it's about the adult industry. I think it's more about a young man growing up,
Yeah, but I had no clue it
family.
played a part at all.
Yeah, I would like
Yeah.
I can't act like the adult industry doesn't play a part in the story or the movie, but I don't think it's necessarily about the adult industry. It is very, very, very loosely based on an adult film star called John Holmes,
Mm-hmm.
and some things that happened to him. But like when I say very loose, I mean like stories about John Holmes, and then Paul Thomas Anderson was like, okay, that inspires me to take that story and then change it into something totally different. I'm sorry, go on.
Yeah, yeah. I think I just knew Mark Wahlberg and like Heather Graham um being in it. I don't think I knew like Burt Reynolds and Julianne Moore and Don Cheadle or anything. So I don't think I knew they were in it. Oh, I knew John C. Riley was in it. I was actually watching this thing a couple months ago, I guess by now. It feels like yesterday, but probably a couple months ago, where on like I think it's Variety's YouTube channel or something, but they'll kind of act. I think it's Variety's. They'll ask like actors about their like most iconic roles and stuff. And I was watching a John C. Riley, one of those, and he's talking about Step Brothers and Talladega Nights
Talladega
and stuff.
Nights, yeah.
And they mention Boogie Nights in that, and I think I'd seen that same clip of like him being introduced to Mark Wahlberg at the like tiki bar in the backyard.
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing I'd ever seen from this movie, and possibly a Heather Graham clip in this movie as well that I'd seen, but that is as much as I known about this movie.
This was the first thing I'd seen John C. Riley in the movie, like in movies. But I haven't watched this movie in a few years. And even before that, it had been maybe a decade since I watched it, right? Um, I still think of John C. It's hard for me to see him in a serious type movie. Right?
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
when he did like Walk the the well, Walk oh, was it Walk the Line?
No,
The
he didn't do
Johnny
Walk the Line.
Cash,
he did the
no,
parody
but the
of it.
Johnny
He
Cash
did,
parody of what or
yeah,
whatever it's
Walk
called.
Hard.
Walk Hard. There you go. The Dewey Cox story. I remember that.
Yes.
But when he did Walk Hard, obviously it was a parody of the Johnny Cash story. But he's done a lot of comedy stuff. Obviously, his connection with Will Ferrell and
McKay.
Adam McKay, right? Um, so seeing him in a more serious role, like as I was watching it, because I watched it earlier today, I was like, wow, John C. Reilly. And you don't realize like he can actually play a like I think he does a really good job in the role that he plays in this movie. So it's one of those where it's like
I think most
I saw him in this first, but I mostly know him for the comedy things. But I was like, he can really do something else if he wanted
yeah, I think most comedy actors are actually really good at doing the serious stuff because um you have to kind of pull off more harder stuff as a comedic actor. I feel like a lot of times like to be believable but also a little over the top for certain things. So to be able to like then just play it straight, I think, and play it dramatically allows them to kind of flex other muscles or show a different side of themselves that I think most comedic actors are really good at. Like, you know, I think like Will Ferrell is really good in like Stranger Than Fiction, which is a very
Is that the one where like someone's narrating his life or whatever?
yes, yes. It's still a little comedically, but like he has really good range in that. I think people there was like an indie movie he did where people were really praising him in that, and then you have
Jim Carrey did some fantastic
Jim Carrey's
serious
done
work.
some stuff. Steve Carell's been great in both comedic and
Yeah.
dramatic roles. Like it's just something that I feel like they, can turn around and do pretty well with. But um, the fact that John C. Reilly is in this movie was something that amazed me when I first learned about that. Whenever it was, because I really thought like his breakout was in that Talladega Nights, Dewey Cox, Step Brothers era, and it
Yeah.
was not. So
And then you
it
find
was
out,
kind
yeah.
of funny for me to find that out, and I'm like, oh no, he's in this movie from the '90s. That's crazy.
So was it just something that maybe that just never caught your attention or never interested you up until I selected it? Um,
Yeah, I just didn't really know anything about it. You know, I'm not really one thing that's kind of mind blowing is knowing that this was 1997 and takes place in 77 at first, and I'm like, if we did that today, it would be 2005. Okay, so that's kind of scary.
well, and in all fairness, you probably should not have been watching this movie in 1997.
No, I was 6. I
6
would
years
not be
old.
watching
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Uh,
This would not have been appropriate for young Jordan to be watching. So
no,
let's
so I
acknowledge that.
and then like I don't know. I don't even know. I literally kind of thought this would be like a. This is gonna sound bad, like a Saturday Night Fever type movie.
Just
Like
more talk like to the culture of the 70s than anything else.
that's what I thought it was about. Boogie Nights. I'm like, oh, they're just going and dancing, or I had no clue what this was. So I was kind of just never really fell on my radar. I don't even really know who Paul Thomas Anderson is. I just know his new movie's out, and he also did There Will Be Blood
Magnolia.
or whatever.
Yeah, I think there were or whatever the oil movie was.
Yeah, that
I
one.
think that
Yeah,
was
There
it.
Will Be Blood. Yeah. Which I haven't
Coronation.
seen either. This is my first Paul Thomas Anderson movie. So
All right. So, quick synopsis. In the San Fernando Valley in 1977, teenage busboy Eddie Adams, played by Mark Wahlberg, gets discovered by porn director Jack Horner, played by Burt Reynolds, who transforms him into adult film sensation Dirk Diggler. Brought into a supportive circle of friends, including fellow actors Amber Waves, played by Julianne Moore, Roller Girl, played by Heather Graham, and Reed Rothschild, John C. Reilly, Dirk fulfills all his ambitions, but a toxic combination of drugs and egotism threatens to take him back down. So, did you look up like a lot of notes, behind the scenes stuff on this one
yeah,
while you were
after the
watching this?
movie. So
Okay.
here's a little behind the scenes is I ended up watching this over the course of 2 nights. So I started watching it Friday night. By the time we got the baby to sleep and I start watching this thing, it's like 10, 10 o'clock or something. And I got about an or later than that. It may have been 10:30, 11 o'clock. I got an hour in and I was just exhausted on Friday. Friday, I commute into the office now, so I wake up earlier. And I was like,
No,
starting to
yeah,
feel,
yeah.
yeah, the eyes were getting heavy. And I was like, I don't think I can make it till 12:30, 1 o'clock to finish this movie. So I paused it. I think I paused it like at a pretty good spot though, where like they're doing one of the time jumps, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna stop here.
Let's
And
start in
then
like 79 or 80 or whatever it is.
yeah,
We'll start when the new decade picks up.
and then I come back the next night. So we were out all day yesterday doing trick or treat stuff, and then at the in-laws, I got home, got the baby to bed early, like 7:30, 8 o'clock yesterday, and started watching this with an hour and a half left of the movie at like 8:30. So I was done by like 10:30 ish, which is a little bit more manageable. So that was kind of how it was going. So then once I was, I think a lot of my first day after I was done watching it or during I was watching it, I was looking at cast stuff. And then I think the second day after I was done watching it, I kind of read some of like Because I know you said it. Some of the people didn't really like it anymore. I saw like Burt Reynolds had said some stuff, and then like
Yeah,
Wahlberg had said some stuff, and
we'll get to those two later
so
for sure.
I was kind of looking into those a bit, but and then I was going down the Paul Thomas Anderson uh, wormhole, I guess, of the like he's married or dating Maya Rudolph and they have kids. Like
He's married to Maya Rudolph. Yeah,
that's crazy.
I did not. That's one of those I did not see that coming. Like I definitely felt like what you call it, a Ron Burgundy when he got his arm ripped off. Did not see that coming.
Yeah,
They've
so
been there
that
for
was
quite a while. So
yeah, and the big thing I was reading about this really is when you look at his age now, he's only in his 40s still. So he was like 26, 27 when he was filming this movie. That's insane.
Look, man, some people just have it. Like it's some people when it whatever skills that they have or whatever path they set on, some people just have it. Then there's people like me who decide to be a mail carrier in early 30s. But, whatever. Okay, so before we start, do you know who was initially offered the role of Eddie Adams / Dirk Diggler?
I did read it. I forget now.
A young Leonardo DiCaprio.
No, that's right. He did. He had to film
the
Titanic,
screenplay,
right?
And he turned it down because he had already signed on to play Jack in Titanic. And apparently, he suggested Mark Wahlberg for the role. Apparently, Wahlberg had been considered for Jack in Titanic, but either turned it down or whatever. Next thing you know, he's doing this. DiCaprio later said one of his biggest regrets is not doing Boogie Nights. It was a profound movie of my generation. When I finally got to see that movie, I thought it was a masterpiece. And he finally was able to work with Paul Thomas Anderson on his most recent film that just came out that people are really liking now, One Battle After Another.
Yeah.
So man, that's a whole separate thing going down of like, let's say Mark Wahlberg ends up as Jack in Titanic, Leonardo DiCaprio ends up as Dirk in this. I don't think Titanic is nearly as good. Don't think this is nearly as good with Leonardo DiCaprio. But that's like a wormhole we could go down in an alternate universe where those things happened, right?
Yeah. It's always those interesting what ifs when you're reading through movies. Or even TV shows, like who was almost cast, right? Is something, and a lot of times people kind of, I think, put too much stock in that stuff because, like you said, it may not make the movie any better, because it'd be approached differently. Not saying I don't think Leo could do this stuff, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. Wahlberg looks so young in this.
He is pretty much fresh off being Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Like this is his breakout role. So he's late teens, early 20s at this point.
I think he was actually like 26, 27 when I was looking at his age, but like he looks young. So I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but because he's like I was looking up his age now and minusing,
trying to figure out like how old he
was. Yeah. But
and your math might be right or your math could be way wrong, like mine.
He looks so young that I at certain shots I can't tell it's him. Like his face is like really thinner or something. I don't know what it is, but
he's not as bulked up as he is now.
Yeah.
Part of that is maybe just because, like I said, he's fresh. He's still a younger guy, and he didn't need to bulk up for this role like he does for a lot of stuff he does now. Also, so film starts off in 1977. He's a high school dropout. He looks like he would be like a 17-year-old in the 70s, and like when this first starts. Like,
yeah. So I have a question about that. Okay, I have a question about this. Did he have to be 17? Like, was that allowed back then that they could do 17 in a porno, or was it just?
So here's the thing. I didn't
want to Google it because I didn't want it.
You don't want to end up having me with Chris Hansen, right? Okay. So he's 17 when the movie starts, but as you see, it still takes he doesn't jump right into filming adult stuff, and it doesn't necessarily say when. So I think maybe part of the reason why is Jack Horner is kind of scoping him out is what, especially he does find out after talking to him in the nightclub that he's at, that he's still 17 at the time.
Yeah.
So I think he doesn't want to have any issues, and he ends up waiting until he turns 18. So there is a case of, I cannot think of this girl's name. There was an adult film star in the 80s who got a bunch of fake IDs and played off that she was over 18 and made a bunch of films. And then it came out the fact that it wasn't true, that she was actually underage. So they had to destroy like all of her films. And then she's technically only has one release where she's over 18, Tracy Lords. And she's done a lot of mainstream work. She's done some horror movies and things. But Tracy
like
Lords,
afterward.
yeah, and she does more like mainstream and horror stuff now. But in the 1980s, Tracy Lords went and got fake IDs and fake paperwork because obviously our ID, the way they make IDs was kind of just a laminated piece of paper with your picture on it back then. Like my first driver's license, I don't think it had any sort of barcodes or stripes or anything on it. Like it was literally just cardboard piece of paper that had everything, all the information kind of like typed or on there or whatever. Then my picture in the corner, and then it was hard laminated. And that was it. And then eventually they started getting more sophisticated because they needed to scan it and swipe it and all this other stuff. But it was a huge thing in the 80s where it came out once it came out that Tracy Lords filmed a bunch of underage stuff. And it wasn't nobody, she's even admitted, nobody forced her to do this. Like she did that on her own because of the circumstances in which she was growing up, wanted to get away from or whatever. Like I don't know the whole story. I don't think we have enough time to go into the whole story here. But she did that willingly, and she did that on her own to escape whatever situation she was coming from. And a bunch of people got arrested, but eventually, like when it came out, like that they were kind of bamboozled, hoodwinked too. They had to let them go because obviously they were producing underage sexual material. And so I think part of what we see in the very beginning as well is Jack waiting for Eddie to turn 18 so he can film, because otherwise, like, he doesn't want to end up like the Colonel later in the movie, which we'll get to.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of shocked by that whole storyline, because I was like, well, he was 17 when you started, so yeah, I was kind of thrown at first, but yeah,
that's the impression I get. I think Jack, because as we'll talk about, as you'll see, Jack does have a line when it comes to that. And
right.
So I think he was one of those where he's like, nope. Once you hit that point, then we can continue on this road. So yeah, old Eddie Adams, as he's known at the time, he's working in a nightclub. He's a high school dropout. He's got a work permit, so he's working as a busboy in this Reseda nightclub owned by Maurice Rodriguez, played by Luis Guzman. And Jack is with his wife, Amber Waves, right? They have a little VIP table. They get to go right in. Luis treats him good. Maurice treats him good. Everything's going good, and he kind of spots Eddie across the way. Then he goes to find him. He's talking to him because he's kind of scoping out new talent, right? And we've talked about this before. We find out in the 70s and 80s, and sometime up until the 90s, this is how some people, even mainstream actors or models, were kind of discovered. Like, and then we talked about David Boreanaz was found like walking his dog or something.
Right.
And there's all these other kind of stories of like, what was it? Pamela Anderson was found at like a CFL game. So all these actors and actresses and models didn't necessarily have to come up through like acting schools or whatever. Sometimes they were found in these weird spots, and that was their big break, was someone was in the right place at the right time. So while he's back there, Eddie does some things to make some extra money. So he's still young, and he's got multiple rounds in the chamber, right? So he says it's 10 to see him do one thing with it, 5 to see it otherwise. And I guess he makes some spare money that way. What did you think of the introduction? What did you think of the opening scene, the opening kind of one shot of going into the club with Jack and Amber, and then the introduction of Eddie and Jack and their whole thing in the nightclub in the beginning?
Yeah, I was kind of thrown by this. I what is it like $5 to just look at it and $10 to watch me do it.
Yeah,
So does Jack know about this at this point, or is it like he just thinks he looks good to be a porn star, or has he heard about this like big
I, I,
ass dick he's got?
I don't think he's heard about it. I think he recognized like a good looking guy who's still fairly young, right?
Right.
So he's like, oh, I can probably at least get a movie or two out of this kid, um, you know, and go from there. But I think he maybe stumbled upon that and stumbled upon that whole thing. I don't think he necessarily uh, knows about it. It's serendipity. Like things just happen for a reason, and this is one of those things that
Yeah.
happen for a reason.
Well, everybody in his I guess that I want to know how much he gets from this, I guess, in the sense of like how often this is happening that that's his assumption when the guy walks up is that that's what he wants done, that's kind of where my mind was going, is like he must get this question a lot to immediately think this guy wants that.
Well, I'm okay. So I'm sure for him, I'm sure on Eddie's side, right? It might be. It's not a totally common thing, but it probably happens a few times a night. Also,
Mhm.
remember this is the late '70s, so there's a lot of homophobia. So somebody who is a homosexual, right? A lot of that, I think it's a situation of either you have to be really flamboyant or you're in the closet. And even if you're really flamboyant, you still have to be very protective because it's not really looked very highly upon. Right? So a lot of people don't like that stuff back in those days. Um, we'll see something along with that later, right?
Yeah.
So maybe through however it first initially happened, and then through their version of the grapevine, right? Maybe it gets passed along from person to person. Oh, if you can get into this club and go to the back and talk to, there's a guy Eddie. It's $10 to see it or $5 to see it, $10 to see him, handle it. You know, I don't know. Like I didn't really put that much thought in it. I overthink a lot of things I haven't thought about.
um, but yeah, that's pretty much where mine was. I don't think I realized it was a oneer. There's some
Yeah,
shots later on that I definitely picked up the technical side of stuff a little bit more. Because I think it's shot very well.
so I'll say this too. I will say prior to doing this podcast, right? I used to just watch movies just to watch movies because I wanted to see the action and dialogue, the scenes, whatever the case is. And then I wouldn't really, not that I'm a movie critic or anything anyway, but I wouldn't look at it with any sort of a critical eye, unless something like caught my eye or I heard something that I might go back and check out a scene or something. Since I started this podcast and then doing the other podcasts and stuff with you, and then listening to some other stuff, I've started watching some stuff a little differently. After not just necessarily watching it just to watch it. Now I'm trying to pick up either on things in the background or how things are shot, how things are lighted, dialogue, stuff like that. And I thought this was shot really well. I thought the set design was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Like this was, I mean, I was born in '78, but by the time I really remember coming of age around 5 or 6, in '83, '84, there were still remnants of stuff from the '70s left over.
Right.
But in some of the way the set was designed and stuff, it looked really familiar. Like it was one of those situations where I was like, oh yeah, like I kind of see myself transported back. And I thought it was, like you said, it was shot really well. I looked up for like cinematography for the Academy Awards that year, and I think it was won by Titanic. And I looked up some of the other names, and I was like, okay, well, I kind of get that. But yeah, I think Titanic kind of took that one too. So, and back then you only got like 5 nominations per
Yeah.
category, so it's not that I'm against them. I'm not like now where you get like 10 or something.
Um, but no, I've kind of agree in the sense of since we've started doing this, I kind of, especially when it comes to like my letterbox and stuff, I try to give a little bit more honest reviews for when we're doing the podcast, right? Like, um, and even so much that after watching the Batman last episode, I went back and watched Batman '89 and actually deducted a star from it because I was like, you know,
How
not as
dare you?
good as this one, yeah, type of thing. So I, am trying to be a little bit more. I had a lot of 5 stars on everything on Letterbox, where I'm not thinking like this type of stuff when we're doing the podcast. So when we do these episodes, I am a lot more. When it comes to the new movies I've seen, I'm a little bit more strict on what I give out than some of my old favorites and stuff.
So Eddie Adams lives in Torrance, and he's working in Reseda. Back then with public transportation, that's like an hour and a half or so bus ride, like 2 or 3 hours worth of walk. So we find out he's taking a bus, or if it's too late, he's walking home. It's a lot of work, right? So he said he meets Jack. Um, he thinks he could be a big star. He also meets Amber Waves. Um, and he also meets another one of his starlets, Roller Girl, played by Heather Graham. So
Yeah, okay, timeout.
okay,
Is this her name or is this like
that's
her
what she
porn name?
that's her porn name, and that's basically what she goes by. She doesn't like to use her real name.
I was gonna say in that limo scene that they do mention her real name, so I was kind of confused for a while. Like when I saw her credited on IMDb as Roller Girl, I was like, oh, she must not have a big role because it seems like she, how they will credit people like that, like Man on
Yeah,
Bus.
yeah.
That's kind of what I thought it was.
Guy in background. No, she has a fairly bit large role in this.
Yeah.
So at some point, Jack sends Roller Girl to go take old Eddie on a test drive. She does. Apparently, she sends back word to Jack that yeah, the guy's supposedly the real deal. Okay. Eddie goes home. Doesn't have the best home life, right? Mom is an alcoholic. She's pretty abusive. His dad looks like he's totally over everything. Like
Yeah,
his
what's the chances here of a divorce for these two?
I think the chances of a divorce is low. I think the chances of one of the two snapping and taking the other one out is much higher.
That's a good point.
I'd put it like, if I had to put odds on, I'd put it like an 80-20 of like one of them snapping and taking themselves and the other one out as compared to a divorce.
Yeah, she seemed very like almost
She's
like
abusive. There's no other way, but she's just abusive.
Yeah, like so evil. I couldn't figure out what her deal was while watching it. Just really is there to just constantly tear down her son, and unfortunately the husband just
Sit there
sits
and
by and lets it happen.
so he meets up with his girlfriend. They have some fun and things. He's working 2 jobs.
Yeah, we never see her again, do we?
Nope, we do not see her again. Later on, he's back working at the club. Jack goes back in. I think this is where he gets Roller Girl to audition to test him out.
Yeah.
As he's walking home, Jack pulls up with Amber and Roller Girl, asks him to get in, right? And they end up going to a diner. He's telling him about the adult industry. So I'm imagining if I'm Eddie in the 70s or 80s and there's stranger danger, and Julianne Moore, a car with Julianne Moore, Heather Graham roll up and like, hey, come take a ride with us. Come hang out with us. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's probably the end of my life right there. Like, if that's
Getting in.
how, if that's, I'm getting in. There's no way I'm not getting in. One, those are two extremely beautiful women. Two, I think I mentioned this before. I have a thing for redheads. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, between those two, like, it's one of those where it's like, well, if maybe I'll go out happy. But yeah, I'm getting in the Cadillac. Um, hey, it is what it is. So they go back to Jack's house, and either the first time we see Jack and Amber go home, or this time is where we find out also that Amber is does a bunch of cocaine. One of the times she's trying to call, even though it's late at night, trying to call to her ex-husband to speak to her son, who obviously doesn't let her because it's very late at night. She goes to bed, and Jack watches Roller Girl and Eddie have some fun. Um, Eddie gets back home. This is where his mom really goes off on him, calls his girlfriend a whore. And this is where he finally has enough, and he grabs what he can, and he takes off, and he ends up going to Jack's place. What did you think of kind of the family breakup here? Would you have gotten in the car if you were a young Eddie?
At 17, maybe. I really like Heather Graham. So, I forget the first time I probably seen her or anything, but she was in a couple episodes of Arrested Development as George Michael's teacher, and Michael, getting with her.
If you finish up Scrubs, she pops up in Scrubs later.
Okay. What else
Austin
was she
Powers
in?
2. I know you haven't seen that, but
No, I haven't. But yeah, so Heather Graham would probably the one that would be kind of like, why is Burt Reynolds here? Type of thing, get in the car. But um I don't know. I was kind of surprised when like we see this scene with his girlfriend, and then like the next scene, Heather Graham just comes into his work and like leads him to
well, she
like the
works there
closet.
too. Yeah,
I know, but I mean like goes to the dishes and like kind of pulls him into like you said, give the little
give them an
test
audition.
here.
Yeah.
So I was like, dude, you have a girlfriend. But yeah, I guess he's also showing it and whacking it for other people. So I guess it doesn't matter. But
He's also 17, and it's Heather Graham. Like,
yes, yeah. So I guess I was a little surprised by that. But also, the scene with his mom, like I said it earlier, but I was really just trying to figure out what her deal was. I could kind of understand like at the beginning of the movie when she was a little upset about something. I was like, oh, maybe he like doesn't do stuff around the house or whatever. But you know, uh, then she just really goes in on him in a few scenes and like um just calling his girlfriend a whore and just
yeah,
going just seeming to be like I don't know if she had like
she's
a
just a horrible, toxic person. Like, I don't know what she.
yeah, it just seemed like she was really ripping into him for no reason. And I'm glad he did get out, right? But it's one of those things where I think one thing I kind of thought about after the movie, and we'll probably circle back to it. And because I was thinking it during this movie too, is because of his mom like that, it kind of pushed him into this life because maybe if he had a loving home, he wouldn't need
It
to
wouldn't. The
seek
situation
out.
wouldn't have presented itself for that.
Yeah, and he wouldn't have had to seek out like a mother figure and a father figure who would actually stand by him the way that the other two do. So, because this journey he goes in throughout this movie is he does land and he's doing porno and drugs and stuff, but then he goes off the rail, right? And then has to come back onto the rail and uh kind of the question I feel like I'm left with at the end that we'll talk about is he actually in a good spot at the end of the movie with his found family, right? I feel like that's what this whole movie is about, kind of is like this found family vibe of these people who have all kind of been maybe
Cast off
pushed to
by.
the fringes of society and joining together.
So Eddie gets the Jacks in the middle of a big house party. This is where we meet a bunch of regular people that Jack works and hangs around with. Buck Swope, played by Don Cheadle. Becky Barnett, played by Nicole Ari Parker. Reed Rothschild, played by John C. Reilly, who's also an amateur magician. And those two, like this would have also been a perfect spot for. Do we just become best friends? Yep. You want to
Yeah,
go?
yeah.
You want to go in the garage and do karate? Yep. So while he's at the party, right? This is where he meets the producer and the distributor, the guy who puts the money for everything. Colonel James. He just goes by the Colonel.
Yeah, so is he a former like colonel, or is this like a Colonel Sanders type of thing?
Okay, so Colonel Sanders, I don't know if he was a colonel in the military. I will say, having lived in Kentucky for a few years, there is a thing called the Kentucky Colonels Association. I don't know if
Okay.
that goes back to like the Civil War or whatever. I don't know. Elvis had a manager back in the day. I think it was like Colonel Tom or Robert Parker or something like that. Like his manager was.
It just feels like a nickname sometimes, like people give each other, like the Colonel.
And yeah, but also if you get like it might have been some Southern dude who made his way out there. I don't know, especially coming off of like, so this is the late 70s. Elvis had just passed away. And like I said, he had, his manager was the Colonel. He might have been trying to
Maybe it was the same
capitalize.
guy.
So Colonel asked to see Eddie's good. And we don't see it. But once the Colonel sees it, he's pretty impressed. What do you think about the party, the introduction of the rest of our cast, and how pretty much everybody who sees Eddie's junk is pretty much amazed by this at this point?
Yeah, I was kind of I was like, it can't be that great. I don't know. Like I feel like for everybody to be acting like this. Well, I guess we'll talk at the end if we think it is that great. But that is um I this was a funny part of the movie for me is everybody's reaction to it all the time. It's just like, woof, yeah, that's good. Like you got a gift, right? Is some of the words that people use about it.
Eddie and Reed are like trying to one up each other as far as like bench pressing and stuff. And they're doing dives off the diving board in the pool. Like,
you know what that had? That had very like toddler 5-year-old energy where it's like, Mom, watch me do this.
Like I said,
okay, all right, now watch me do this.
This was almost like something like this could have been like the origins of Step Brothers.
Yes, yeah.
Like between those two. So the Colonel tells him he has to come up with a name, and Eddie tells him he's like, I have this name in my head. Or later on, he's telling Jack, I got this name in my head, and it's so bright, it just explodes because it's so strong, and that's where he gets the name Dirk Diggler. So they're gonna film Dirk's first scene, and it's with Amber, and they're going over the before that. This is where we also meet William H. Macy's character. William H. Macy's character and his wife.
Yeah, Little Bill.
And his wife. Who
is he named that because he is small down there?
I don't know. Maybe there was a Big Bill on the set at once because he seemed like he's kind of like the set supervisor or something, right? Or maybe a producer or something. So maybe
just constantly getting tucked here.
If there's usually like a little Bill, like there's probably a Big Bill at some point, right? So, and Bill's a common name, so you got to distinguish them. William H. Macy doesn't look like a larger guy compared to these other people, so maybe it was that. But yeah, his wife, who was actually played by an adult film star.
Okay, I didn't know that.
That is an adult film star named Nina Hartley. Um, this is not the first time we will see him walking in on his wife,
No, a
enjoying
total of
herself
what, three
three
times?
times. Right, 1, 2, and 3.
So literally, the second time it happens, my wife is coming back into the room, and she's
Oh
like,
no!
"What is this movie?" And I'm like, "This guy only exists so far to walk in on his wife sleeping with somebody else. Like that's all he's done."
We'll talk about the second time, or maybe it was the first time. So we'll talk about it now.
The first
there
time
was
she's like having a conversation and like tells him like get out.
okay. So one of the times where he's doing it, where he walks in on his wife, right? He he ends up talking to like the other guy who does the lighting and the set stuff, and like there's a crowd. You can see in the background there's a crowd gathered around watching someone else do his
Yeah,
wife.
because this is outside at like
Yeah,
in the driveway or something.
yeah. I think this is the second time because I think this one's at
Second time,
Dirk's house.
yeah.
And he's trying to talk to him about the scenes for tomorrow, but little Bill is he's not all there. And then like he stumbles on the line. William H. Macy said the line incorrect.
Yes, I caught this. I caught this. I didn't know if it was purposeful or not.
He said the line incorrectly. Now, we can say the line if you want to beep it out if it's too much or not. He transposes a couple of the words in the line, right? But Paul Thomas Anderson decided to keep that take because if you look at the circumstances, little Bill is so wound up and he's so upset and frustrated about what's going on, right? And he's telling the guys like, dude, can we hold off on this till tomorrow? Like, there's a guy down there like messing with my wife. Like, so somebody in that situation realistically may not be in the right mind and they might flip over their words and things might come out the wrong way. So that was not how it was scripted. It was an accident, and William H. Macy got the words a little mixed up. But Paul Thomas Anderson was like, I think that fits the character better, and that's a couple of So yeah, this is the first time we see that. So we go back to the first scene that Dirk is gonna shoot, and he tells Jack, he's like, "Hey, can you call me Dirk?" Right? He's young, and this is his first time doing this, and Jack's like, "Sure, cool." And his first scene is gonna be with Amber, and they're going over how they're gonna end the scene, right? Trying not to be too explicit here. Um, and she tells him, where to finish, right? So this is the 70s, so they're still using film canisters and stuff. So it's the film days. So they do action, they start the scene goes on, and goes on, and goes on, and they run out of film. So they're like, okay, well, we got to change canisters. So they take a quick break, and okay, bam. They change the film, and then once they change the film, they continue back on, and then she changes it up and decides to tell him to finish somewhere else. So he does. Okay, scene's over, cut, great. Okay, and he's like, well, we didn't get the money shot. And he's like, maybe we can use some stock footage. And he's like, can't use stock footage for him. It's like it's not gonna work. But once again, Eddie's young, dumb. I can do it again if we need to. I can go again. And his youthful vigor and energy is helping. Also, at the same time, this is where we meet Philip Seymour Hoffman's character.
Yeah.
Where he comes in, and the first time he sees Eddie. So a lot of this stuff, the very first time I watched the movie, the first couple times I didn't catch on, right? But now that I'm watching it with a little bit more of a discerning eye, I kind of did catch on to like, oh, he fell for him as soon as he saw him.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't the first couple of times, so Philip Seymour Hoffman's character is closeted gay in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least closeted bisexual. They don't specifically say, but one of the two. I didn't catch all the signs that were there initially the first couple of times I saw it. It wasn't until I just watched it this time and I was like, oh, this makes a lot more sense now. And I kind of saw it coming from a mile away. What did you think of the introduction of his character? And what did you think of Dirk being like, I can do it again? let's go. I can do it another time.
Yeah, I definitely picked up on the Scotty stuff. I just didn't
But
know if it was actually gonna culminate to anything, which it does at the what New Year's party. Um,
yeah, about halfway through the movie.
yeah, but uh, for Dirk just saying he would go again, I didn't know if it was supposed to just be his normal normal youthful vigor. If this is part of having that special penis that he has, part of his gift is to just
Maybe it's
regenerate.
maybe it's a combination of both. I mean, it could be a combination of both together. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so he films a couple of movies. I think he does two, and then I don't know if so. There actually is an adult awards ceremony that is done every year in Las Vegas. AVN, the Adult Video News Awards. I think when I read up, I think it might actually started in the '80s. There was a guy that actually made a magazine called Adult Video News or AVN or whatever that would talk about kind of what we see in one of the montages later of like new movies coming out, new stars, starlets, and there's
Mhm.
critics who watch these movies and give their ratings and all this other stuff. Like that is real, but I think AVN might have been going on for a while, but they didn't start the awards thing until the early '80s. And if I
Okay.
believe it's tagged along with CES, so it's usually in like the end of January, beginning of February, some whenever the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas is.
Oh, okay.
Um, and those two kind of go together, I guess. But so yeah, but well, they kind of do because Sony and VHS actually kind of saved the adult film industry. Um,
Hmm.
uh, they, but that's a whole nother story. So they're on their way out to Las Vegas, and Dirk and Reed are in the back of the van, right? Um, and they're talking to Jack, and they're talking about they want to make this actual story. Like they want to. Jack's always talked about he wants to make movies where people actually sit through the whole movie,
Right.
watch it for the story. He wants to be like an actual filmmaker and tell a story, right? Have a first, second, and third act. He doesn't want to just kind of like make quick little scenes where people just rub one out to and then kind of leave. And um, Dirk has a character that he's coming up with. It's like a private detective and everything. And Reed's going to be his partner. So they end up doing that. So they get there. They get to the awards. Dirk wins like three or four of them, right? He's like the hot new guy on the scene. Um, so, like I said, hot new guy on the scene. And his career starts taking off. Um, Making more movies. Jack's kind of happy because he gets to make actual movies and things. Him and Reed they do some action porn theme type stuff, right? Brock Landers and Chess Rockwell, some other great adult film names. They get praise, they get more awards, um, and a bunch of people are like it's kind of bringing the adult film industry back. He ends up getting a house. He gets this competition orange '77 Chevy Corvette, right? He's got a new house. And he's got these Italian shoes. And he's got suits. And he's got a little walk-in closet and a wardrobe. And he's living a good life, man. What did you think of the rise of Dirk Diggler here?
Yeah, it felt very quick, right? I don't know how much of this we're seeing. You know, some of these adult stars will pump out what like videos a lot, right? Like in a span of whatever, and then they'll be cut up into whatever they film. So you know, I guess it could be a quick turnaround and then get on there. But yeah, I mean, a quick rise for him. I didn't really know where this movie was heading in the second half. So like, at some points of this, when he's like already getting the Corvette and everything's going good, I was kind of like, okay, like what is the rest of this movie then if he's already risen up here? 'Cause I didn't read like the synopsis or anything, I just kind of pressed play. So I had no clue that this, because I think I read the synopsis later when my wife asked, like, what is this about then, after I paused and for the night, and I was like, oh, so it looks like egotism and his downward trajectory is coming up.
I kind of do that too when I get movies from you. Like, I might just look at the synopsis real quick or like the one sentence version of it.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Like, and we joked around about the Secret Invasion one, how Marvel gives us like one sentence, and
Yeah.
we're like, what the? But I look at the quick ones, right? So
Events come to a conclusion and you're
yeah,
like, okay,
Nick
yeah.
Nick Fury searches for answers,
Yeah.
and really, that's all you're gonna give me, right? But so I did that. I do that when I'm watching movies that you give because I kind of want to go into it, but I just want to go on the ride. So
Yeah.
we get to like the halfway point of the movie. The movie's like 2.5 hours long. We get to the halfway point of the movie. Derek's having a party at his place, right? And it's ushering in a new decade, the 1980s. Um, so we've got the 70s coming to a close, the 80s are happening. The world is ultimately going to change. Reagan is going to come into power. The Cold War is still going on. Cocaine is still a hell of a drug, right? And we find that out because this is where Amber introduces Dirk to cocaine for the first time. One thing. Did you, during the first party at Jack's place, when we see, I think it was a couple guys were talking by the phone, they answered the phone. And they were asking for, I forget what her name is, Vanessa or whatever. And it was Amber's son calling, trying to talk to his mom because
Yes.
the party was out and he couldn't find who. They don't know her as that. They only know her as Amber, right? So it didn't get a chance to talk to her son. What did you think of? Did you catch on that where like they couldn't figure it out and then they kind of cut to Amber in
Yeah.
the like right after that, or what did you think of that aspect too?
Yeah, I had a suspicion that that's what it was. I just looked it up. It says her name is Maggie.
Yeah, Maggie.
Um, so, uh, a lot of these people have the fake names, so I kind of
Yeah,
suspected that that's what it was, and they couldn't kind of, I guess,
yeah. They don't
figure it
know her
out.
as Maggie. They know her as Amber, right?
So I kind
But
of felt bad because we know that, like, there will be that scene later on when she's going for custody. That uh, I think the father had valid reasons for wanting to keep the child away, but the sad part is here that the child is calling, right? But she's kind of too busy, at this party to get the message. And because nobody else knows, I guess she's probably keeping a lot of that stuff private. It's kind of
yeah,
embarrassing for her, I'm sure. So, uh, to not know that people, the people not knowing that she's waiting for a call or could potentially have a call from her son, I kind of feel bad for the kid. This kid is kind of lost his mother through all of this, and she wants to be there, but um, circumstances are
I feel bad
kind
for
of
her
preventing it.
too because like
Yeah,
maybe she
yeah,
hears that like, hey, there's a phone call from Maggie. Like she I think she'd probably jump at it because she realizes
right,
there's
right,
probably only a few people that know her as that name. You
yeah,
know. So yeah, so ushering in the 80s, and this is where we get this is where the film completely turns. Like I said, this is the
yeah,
halfway point, and this is where everything completely turns in the film. So Dirk gets introduced and addicted to cocaine because of his introduction from Amber. And he sleeps with Amber, which I don't think Jack will mind, but I'm not sure if Jack also knows as well, right?
that's what
Um,
I was very confused about, because I thought they were married, right? But then, like, there's just like some very weird scenes that go on throughout, that really made me question, like, are they like married, or are they?
And they're at least a couple. Like they live
Right,
together.
right. That's what I was
They're at
kind
least
of.
cohabitating couple
But
together.
then for a while, I was like, is it kind of more of like how he's taken in Dirk and other people? Because you know, it was very confusing because I thought for sure when this movie started they were like a full on couple, but then as soon as we get into and I get she's a porn star, but like he immediately is like, yeah, you're gonna. Uh, Originally Dirk was supposed to sleep with somebody else in that scene, right? And he says no, but we're moving it to Amber. In like his first scene, and
I think he knows
then
how to separate. I think he knows how to separate like this is
yeah,
what she
yeah.
does for work
But then, like you
and
said,
that's a
then
necessity for work.
we get these weird scenes with Dirk and Amber where it seems like they're maybe getting close, but then later she'll talk about like how he's like a son to her. Uh and then like later when she's making that documentary thing about Dirk,
Yeah.
and uh she hadn't shown Jack the cut yet, but she shows him. He's saying, "Hey, maybe we can cut out that part where he kind of undermines me and says I don't actually block my own sex genes," and she seems
Yeah.
on board with that. So I was kind of trying to figure out how she actually feels about Jack throughout this.
I think there is a relationship between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because you see him a few times, he tells her like she's beautiful. He's
Right, right.
boxing his bitch around, right? Um, hell, for all we know, maybe he can't get it up anymore, and he's just okay with like. I mean, every person and their
And that's
significant
why he
other
watches.
has their own relationship, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
maybe because he
It could
directs
be an
these
open
things,
relationship. I mean, that
it
those
could be,
exist,
yeah,
right? It could be anything.
you know. Um, but maybe it's ultimately he knows like even if she has a dalliance or two with Dirk or someone else, eventually she's still going to come back to him. So he's not that concerned about it. This is where Scotty gets a car like Dirk's, right? And then tries to kiss him.
Yeah.
That doesn't work out too well for Scotty. This is where the Colonel and his backer try to talk Jack into going to video cassette. So this is around the time where they are moving from film and pornography is being shown in adult theaters around the place, right? But now we have VCRs that have came about, so it's easier to film it and then make copies of it or whatever, and then people can enjoy their adult film entertainment in the privacy of their own home instead of going to taking the chance of going to an adult establishment like a theater and being arrested, like Pee Wee Herman got arrested in an adult theater, right? Now, there's actually way more to that whole thing with Pee Wee Herman than what people know of, right? Or Paul Rubens. There's a lot more to, but what it boils down to is Paul Rubens, who plays Pee Wee Herman, went to an adult theater in Florida and then was arrested for doing what you do watching adult material in an adult theater. But I think there was also like several cops in that theater. So like, it was a whole setup and thing. They weren't necessarily there to catch Paul Rubens. They were
Just
there to
anybody.
catch, yeah. But
Do,
I,
do,
I'm,
you,
I'm
do you think this is weird, by the way? Like this whole like I cannot imagine growing up, when I have and everything that you go to the theater to watch this stuff and sit in a room with other people. I feel like it'd be very difficult.
well, so I like the first VCRs didn't really come out till like the early '80s.
Yeah,
So there was no way of watching stuff at home. Like you
but
couldn't watch
like
it at home.
back in like I know not at home, but I mean back in like the 20s and stuff, right? Like they had those Nickelodeon things where you'd be able to like kind of watch stuff and like kind of put your
Yeah,
face like your eyes up into this box to see stuff. That's kind of what I always assumed it was. I never really thought much about like the 70s era of stuff visually where
I
you're
think it.
thinking like, oh yeah, they'd have to go to a theater, but
I think it's a situation of you just have to deal with what time throws you. So like, okay, prime example. There's a lot of people who are like, oh, I'd love to go back to like the 1800s or whatever. Which really,
mhm,
I mean, we don't have running water.
Right.
You're still pooping in outhouses, right? That running water is not just for you, right? Your wife can't take a shower.
Right.
Like your wife is only washing up by a pail or tub or whatever. It may not be doing it every day because you might not be able to get to the well every day. Um, your your medicine, like during the Civil War, if you got shot, they just chopped the damn arm off. Like you're not you, but you really want to go back to that, right? Like you think, oh, I could go back to the 1800s. You're thinking that now because you're thinking you're going back with all the modern conveniences you have now back then.
Right. Right.
You're not thinking about going back to the 1800s where you're going to live like what we consider a goddamn savage right now, you know? So, so, uh, this is also where Little Bill finds his wife and another man for strike three. So we see him. So before that, like I said, they're trying to convince Jack to go to video. And Jack is a little upset by this because he still is a filmmaker, right? He still wants to make and produce these films and edit it and do it. And he wants to make like I think he probably enjoys the actual filmmaking process more than the sex.
And I think also if he wants to make film, right, there is a bit of snobbery with that in the sense of, there are certain TV shows that were shot on tape that cannot get proper HD restoration because it was shot on tape compared to shot on film. Like so like Seinfeld and Friends shot on film, we can get 4Ks, we can get Blu-rays of 4K or streaming, very good quality. But some sitcoms were shot like literally on tape, and cannot have an upscaled version at all. So I'm sure part of it is him like, hey, I'm a filmmaker. We use film. The tape makes things easier and stuff, but we also see him start to really just kind of
I think he takes pride in the craft.
Yeah. And he kind of loses that when they switch to video, and you can actually see, I think, some of the quality of those scenes that they're filming with the videotape are not as good as when they had film, because videotape is just not as good. So I do think that is probably part of his problem with it. He also thinks this is like somebody coming in and trying to horn in on his market.
Yeah.
So much so that he's like, I'm not going to loan you anybody. And he's like, whoa. Like, this is not what it's about. I'm trying to prepare you for the shift here. I'm not trying to
but I can also see their point of like, hey, look, like things are moving ahead. Times change, right? And we need to get ahead of that. And it's kind of a situation we hear a lot of times. You can either be part of the change or part of the problem. Like, if you don't change with the times, you end up being a dinosaur and you become extinct. So, like I said, in the late 70s, early 80s, once the home video market exploded, because especially after the Supreme Court case, because it went to the Supreme Court about whether or not you taping stuff was copyright infringement, or having your own copy was copyright infringement. That changed the entire market. That changed how things were. It went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court had to rule that no, that was not copyright infringement. You taping the episode of All in the Family that night, or the Jeffersons, is not copyright infringement on their parts. So I love Jack's line of "We will or will not conclude this conversation later."
Yeah.
Basically, he's like, "Look, I'm pretty pissed off right now. I'm trying to enjoy the new year with my family and friends. Get back on me. I don't know if we're gonna pick this back up later." That's kind of the politest way he can do that. But like I said, then we get Little Bill, who walks in on his wife the third time. Strike three, and he's had enough. He goes out to his car. This is back in the day where he had separate keys for like the trunk and the door and everything. He has to unlock his car. Goes and he gets his gun. He loads up his gun. He goes in, shoots his wife, shoots whoever's doing his wife, then walks out in front of everybody. Bam, takes his own life.
Yeah, this is like you talked about the shift. This is the shift of the movie of like I don't think we had seen a gun until now.
No.
So like at first when he's walking away, I'm thinking, okay, he's just going home. But then when he like gets in the car, I'm like, part of it in the back of my mind is, okay, maybe he's just going to end it, kind of like do exactly what he does here. But at first when he just walks right out after seeing them, I'm like, oh, he's just like, all right, I'm going home. He starts reaching for that glove box, and I'm like, oh, okay, no, he is. This is it. This is the end here, and I was actually surprised there wasn't too much more fallout from this. Just even like a mention of like, because somebody had to come and pick up the bodies and stuff. So but
Maybe,
it's not really about
maybe,
that. But
but okay, let's go back a couple scenes to the first party they had, right? The colonel brought this young girl with him, okay? She
yeah,
does a bunch
yeah.
of cocaine and she overdoses.
Oh, true, true,
And,
true.
and they have a scene where he's like, hey, go out the back door, drop her off at the hospital, right? And like things like this happen. Like
Yeah, yeah.
these are not like mob connected people. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. I'm not sure. But who knows? Like there might not be any fallout from this. It may be a situation of nobody saw nothing. Let's get rid of this body and figure something out. Let's also talk about Buck, Don Cheadle's character here.
Mm-hmm.
So Buck goes through some transformations, right? His daytime job, he's working at a stereo store. He's got a cowboy persona the first time we see him.
Yeah.
And the owner is not happy with it because the owner knows he like does adult films and he's thinking he's gonna get some attractive women and things in there. People come in from that, but he's like this cowboy shit is not gonna cut. He's not gonna. And other people are trying to tell him too, like, yeah, the cowboy thing is old. You need to move on. The next time we see him, he kind of has a Rick James type thing going with
Mm-hmm.
braids, and he's kind of sitting lonely at this New Year's Eve party, and he's looking like he's going through like a midlife crisis. He's trying to figure out what he's doing with his life. And this lovely young lady, who I think was attached to Dirk for a while, I think she had a relationship with Dirk.
Yeah, he like got up and went to talk to. I think it was when
Amber.
like Amber was doing something with him that
Yeah.
she kind of looked upset, and she just went up and sat down next to Buck and started talking.
And they have a connection, right? And he finds love. We find out eventually later he finds love, and I was happy to see that. That was good. We also have not only that, but we also who was the other one? Becky. Becky's going through a couple things. Where she's going through some uh, astrology type sign things of trying to meet people, and eventually she finds love. She ends up meeting up with a gentleman who's not in the adult industry. He's like a manager at Pet Boys. They're going to give him a store. We find out later they're going to give him a store at Pet Boys to manage in Bakersfield. So she's moving up to Bakersfield, and she has a wedding, and she's going to live happily ever after. And apparently they had a scene that they were going to film of she comes back later because her husband was abusing her. But Paul Thomas Anderson decided to scrap it because he's like, she deserved to have a happy ending. Like, just because they're involved in the adult industry doesn't mean like everything in their life has to be horrible and tragic. Like, people move on from things in their past. So she packed up and moved on to Bakersfield with her husband, and we don't see her anymore too much after that. So there's another guy who gets introduced here. I forget his name, but he gets introduced because he works at a strip club during this, and him and Dirk and Reed start using cocaine on a regular basis. Him and Dirk and Reed are just, I don't know, like I said, at the halfway point is literally where the movie turns and the downslope starts. Dirk and Reed are starting to use coke on a regular basis. Movies are going on. He's getting awards. And his speeches eventually go from this whole enthusiastic thing to just thank you, right? But then we find out that there's some issues because he's snorting cocaine, and we find out later he's snorting crystal meth. He can't get an erection. He's getting mood swings, right? And he's using more and more. He also walks into the club one day and he sees Jack with another young man named Johnny Doe. And I'm sure Dirk sees this and he's like, this is exactly how he got me. So now jealousy comes into play because he's like, no, I know exactly what this guy's here. And he's not having that. So a couple of days later, it's 1983. They're on a scene. Dirk can't get it up, but eventually finally he's able to talk to himself and do whatever and get it up. And he comes out and he's like, I want to fuck now. Like that's basically what he's saying. Like, when it's my big dick, I want to fuck now. Jack's like, dude, no. First he tells him it's like they're still doing all the setup. He's probably going over the script and various other things.
Right.
And he's like, it's gonna be 20 minutes. No, I want to go now. I gotta go now. Let's go. Who's it gonna be? What do? Dude, calm down. Then he's like, no, I'm not shooting you in this condition. I'm not shooting you in the state. What do you mean in the state? In the state of California?
Yeah.
I know where I'm at. And then that's when Johnny Doe stands up and they almost get into a fight. Jack pretty much fires him, kicks him out because it's like, you haven't slept in 2 days, you're high as fuck. And everything just starts going batshit banana crazy at this point. Dirk and Reed are trying to get into the music business, right? They're making horrible ballads in the 80s.
Yeah, and not a great singer, Dirk.
There's the whole thing at one point where he's like, they're trying to get a demo tape made and they can't so they make the demo tape, but they haven't paid for the demo tape, right?
Right.
And the guy's like, look, I can't give you the tape until you pay me. And they're trying to use circular logic, like, well, we can't pay you until we can take the demo tape and go and get a record deal out of it and then get money. And that's how we're going to pay you. And the guy's just not happy, right? And then we see a scene before that where Dirk and Reed obviously are not music people. And he's like, I think the bass is taken away from my voice. And the actual musical engineer guy who's there controlling the board and stuff like, no, I think it's fine.
Right.
No, it's taken away from his voice. Take the bass now. And you can just tell the look on his face like he's so over this too. He's just done with them. So they can't get a record deal because they can't get the tapes. They can't get the tapes because they can't get money, but they can't get money until they get the tapes taped for a record deal. And it's all because all the money they're spending on cocaine and meth, right?
And during this, we have Tom Jane entering the movie here as Todd Parker.
Amber, this is what we talked about earlier. Amber does a little documentary about Dirk and the criticism of violence in the Brock Lander series, right? And this is where you talked about he's sitting there with Jack and he tries to say that Jack lets him block and do his own sex scenes, and Jack kind of cuts him off and tells him no, he doesn't. And like you said, after she doesn't show the film to Jack, she just shows it to Dirk. And then Dirk, after seeing, is like, can we cut that part out? She's like, yeah, no problem, whatever. Honestly, Jack knows they're watching the movie in there, right? But he seems like he just doesn't care. He's just like, whatever. It's a passion project for her. She made a movie, great. Did you like it? Is it good? Okay, great, whatever. Just as long as it keeps you busy. Philip Baker Hall plays Floyd Gondoli. That's the guy earlier was trying to get him to go into
video
theater in the video and the theater business, right? Bookman from the Seinfeld series. So Jack gets a call from the Colonel because the Colonel had another girl who OD'd on him. But then the Colonel and the girl was underage. Jack's like, well, you didn't touch her, right? He's like, no, I didn't. I don't touch her. I didn't touch her. I don't touch her.
She was 15 going on 150 is what he says.
I don't touch him. But they found something when they were searching the place. And apparently he's got a lot of child pornography.
It's his weakness.
It's my weakness. They're so young and so cute. And we see that's what I was talking about earlier. That's where we see Jack does have a line. And the Colonel's like, "You're my friend, Jack, right? So you're my friend." He's trying to get him to like help him out some way. And Jack's like, he doesn't say it, but you can tell in the scene, Jack's like, I gotta cut you off here, man. Like,
Yeah.
no, this is a line too far. So I had something somewhat similar to this happen to me a few years back. One of the guys I deployed with, who at one time I would have considered a good friend, he introduced me to Buffy the Vampire Slayer and everything.
Oh wow.
We hung out in Iraq and after Iraq before we went different news stations, and we kind of kept in touch with each other online for a while. And then we lost touch because people go separate places, and I got out. Then eventually he got out, or no, he was still in at the time, but he was in Texas, and I went someplace else. Okay, cool. So I had a day where a couple of days where I was like, he popped up in my head, and I was like, I wonder what this guy's doing. I should look him up on Facebook because I haven't heard from him. And I was like, let me check him out. So I get home that evening, right, and fire up Facebook, and I didn't even have to look for him because there was a group that was made for a bunch of us who all deployed to Iraq together, and that was one of the first things on my Facebook feed. Was he was arrested and was sentenced, was about to be sentenced. He eventually got 99 years for child molestation. And so it was like his mugshot, and like here's the thing: nobody could have seen this coming. Like we didn't. Right. Nobody knows anybody really that well. So I get it all the time where people are like, I never would have saw that coming from him, but you don't really know what people do behind.
I mean, it's everything on the news, right? Like when,
yeah.
like let's
serial killers and Ted Bundy, like, oh,
or like the Little Bill situation in this, right? Where they do like a murder suicide, and people are like, they were the happiest couple we've ever seen. Like, no, you know, nobody would have seen it coming from that person. People say it all the time, but it's because people are putting on a facade when they're in public, and you know, they're not showing their true self. So much so that like, you know, this was Jack's like number one guy who was giving them the funding and the money.
He was the guy financing everything.
And he had no clue. And in fact, he actually tries to continue this charade during this, right? When he says, you know, like I said, she's 15 going on 150. I didn't touch her. And then it's like, oh yeah, but there's this other thing that they did find. And it kind of matches exactly with me having a 15-year-old at the house. You know, so it's like he's trying to play it with Jack,
like,
and then has to,
deal.
but then has to kind of come clean anyway.
So, eventually, this guy's attorney, before he went to sentencing, was trying to get people who knew him and who was stationed with to give him character witnesses to the sentence of the judge. I never got contacted, but just about all of us online in that group were like, because a couple of them did get contacted from the attorney. Like, hey, would you be willing to give a character witness? And like I said, not all of us were contacted, but pretty much everyone was like, oh, hell no. Like, no, I'm not giving you a character witness for this. Like,
I don't want my name associated.
Attached to a pedophile. And he got sentenced to 90, like, without the possibility of parole. Like, his parole date is not to, like, he'll be dead before he's eligible for parole.
Right.
Like 2099 or something when he's eligible for parole for the first time. But yeah, Jack cuts him off. So Jack eventually has to partner with Floyd because one, he lost his funding with the Colonel after the Colonel goes to jail, right? So Floyd's gonna be his money man, and they're moving the videotape, and it's quicker and it's easier, and they kind of just once they tape it, they can just kind of dub it to other tapes, and they can send it out to the distribution centers. People can buy it for $29.99 or $30 or whatever it is, you know. So, but not only is the actual physical quality of the film gone down, but since his new boy started shooting there, Johnny Doe, Johnny Doe is just not into it either. He's doing some horrible stuff, right? And so he walks in on him. He walks in on his editor, and he's like, "How is it?" His editor's just like, "It is what it is, man. Like, There's none
That's what I'm talking about. Like when you have this, like a lot of this is like almost like another oneer, right? Where Jack is going from like room to room, and we're
Yeah,
seeing stuff go, and we
stopping
get to
invoices
this,
go from here to
yeah,
there.
and we get to that room, and a room that we used to see him with the editor going through the film and being like, "This is our best work ever," is now
Yeah,
just
and he's like, I don't want the title to come this way. I want it to come out and pop people in the face. Yeah, and
yes,
now he's just like, what do we got? Yeah.
right, right,
But in the meantime, we also see like all his posters from all his other stuff with Dirk
mm-hmm.
in the background and all this other stuff, here and there, kind of showing how time has passed and things are just different now. We get to September '83. This is where we find Amber, who doesn't have a lawyer, which is maybe kind of shocking. But Amber doesn't have a lawyer, and we find out it's a child custody hearing. Her ex-husband comes in, and apparently she was supposed to get custody of the kid from like Saturday until like 7 o'clock on Sunday, but the ex-husband cut her off at some point because he said he caught the kid in a situation where there were drugs, pornography in the house. So Amber loses that. We see Buck. Buck always wanted to open up his own radio store. So at one point, Buck, has a business plan, and him and his new wife, they go into this bank. They're an interracial couple, by the way. So weird to say, but you can't tell me that probably didn't have anything to do with the bank's decision.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too. That as well as him also being a.
But he goes into the bank with all this business plan and his paperwork because he wants to open up a radio store. And the guy's like, "You're a pornographer. I can't be involved. The bank can't lend money to someone who does pornography." And he keeps saying that, and Buck's like, "Stop saying pornography." And you can tell that, like, Don Cheadle does really good in this role.
Yeah.
You can see the hurt and the pain on his face, and he's like, and he's like, "What do you want me to do? Did I forget to fill something out? What do I need to put on the paper? Like, tell me what needs to be on the paper. I'll put whatever it is on the paper. Like, this is my dream, And he's like, "Stop saying pornography. Like, I'm more than that. I was an actor, and you know." And I think there was also, because it was the early '80s, it was possible because of his race that they didn't want to give him the money. But it's easier. They probably technically couldn't say because of his race, but it's easier to say, "Oh, we don't want to be involved with anybody in pornography," because that was a real thing that happened during those times. Like, kind of like at the same thing that goes along with like a lot of the marijuana dispensaries and stuff that are going on now, because it's legal at state levels, but it's illegal at a federal level still. A lot of these marijuana dispensaries and stuff are having banking issues because they can't necessarily go to like Chase or Bank of America, because Bank of America can have an issue because now technically they're funding or doing business with people who are selling drugs. And a lot of these actual banks like want nothing to do with that because there's always the chance the feds can come after them.
Right.
But that was a real thing that happened in the late '70s, early '80s when it came to adult material. So what did you think of all the stuff with Buck and Amber and everything else that's going on? Like I said, Jack with now the videotape stuff where he's just kind of indifferent to it. Like, he knows he's making crap, but it's whatever. It's still a job.
Yeah, this is kind of like that you mentioned earlier, like the family breakup here, right? Where they're all kind of starting to go their own separate ways, a good chunk of them here. And they're not doing as hot like as they do together, which is kind of where we're building to at the end. But I'll tell you, I don't know when we're getting to it, but I was very worried about Don Cheadle's character at the donut shop. I really thought he was a goner. And so I was like on the edge of my seat in that scene, thinking like, oh no, but it's just the way he gets kind of like the money to fund the shop, more so than what I thought. Because, for the first half of this movie, there's like no guns or blood or anything. And in fact, even Paramount is totally wrong, by the way. Because I was watching it, and it said rated R, nudity. And I was like, oh, okay, that's it. Like, there's not any like gun violence or
I mean,
all
there
this other
wasn't a
stuff.
ton, so
No, but I mean, like, there is. There's the scene with Bill. There's this donut shop scene which has three people,
and there's a scene later with
blood, and then there's a scene later on that really shows it. So I was actually kind of surprised that Paramount just said for nudity. I don't know if that was like they can only show one thing or something. I don't know what was going on there, but
maybe because that was the strongest thing dealing with the movie.
maybe even though there was not that much nudity, really.
Well, you get full frontal, so it's not just
Yeah,
like so you see just about everything on a bunch of people. You ever heard the term ships passing in the night?
yeah, yeah.
So I think I told you about this podcast before, Cinefix that goes through IGN. They're doing like their 100 favorite movies or something. This was one of them's on the list. And I never knew about it before, but we're getting to a ships passing in the night scene. So we get 3 separate groups of people that all cross paths with each other that don't know they cross paths with each other.
That was a cool scene.
I thought this whole thing from all 3 perspectives were done really well. We get Dirk, who kind of has to go back to his hustling days, right? So he's waiting in a parking lot, and pulls up to him in a truck, and he's like, "Hey, you waiting on someone?" "Yeah, but I don't know if they're gonna show up. You want to wait in the car?" "Sure." And it's another guy who wants to see him. He's like, 10 to see me play with it, 5 to just have me pull it out, right? But he's still going through his drug issues, and he can't really get it up, right? And he can't perform for the guy.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, another truck pulls up, and it's a hate crime. And they beat the hell out of Dirk because they think he's gay. Because he's playing with himself in front of another man for money. Did you recognize any of the people in this scene?
The guy in the truck who picks him up. I went through his IMDb. I'm trying to figure out where I really know him from.
Well,
It says he's in Buffy, doesn't it?
Yes. So remember the Zeppo? Remember the guy?
Yes.
That they brought back from the dead, who set the bomb up in the basement?
Oh, was he the one that did it?
Yeah. Oh no, not the one that brought back from the dead, but the one who like Xander like bumped into. He crashed his car into his car. He was the tough guy.
Okay.
Yeah, that's him, and he still looks like exactly the same. So
that's what I thought. I think he's in something else I've seen too, because he has that face that I just think I'm like, yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah, but yeah, I was when I saw it this time, I was like,
Shannon Rowe.
That's the dude from the Zeppo. That's the dude from Buffy. I was like, I wonder if Jordan will recognize.
Oh, he's in Can't Hardly Wait as well, which is another a movie I've watched.
You've probably seen him in a whole bunch of things, but we've seen him in this podcast for sure in episode of.
Oh man, does that mean I gotta add him? I gotta add him to the actor list.
I'd say maybe once he gets his start, because he doesn't have a huge role in any of these things so far. Like not to diminish what he did in the Zeppo or diminish his role in this movie, but like let's wait till we catch him in like a third one.
Okay, into a third.
Because he doesn't have a major role, right? But yeah, they beat the hell out of Dirk. For that. At the same time this is going on, Jack has a crew in a limousine, and he has Roller Girl in a limousine, and they're gonna do some literally man on the street type stuff, where they're gonna pick a dude up on the street, and he's gonna have sex with Roller Girl in the limousine, right?
This is the this is also another moment where you kind of see how Jack is not feeling it as much of this part, right? He is saying, "Oh, we're making film history and stuff," but there was one time where he says something and he's just kind of like almost rolling his eyes and just looks sad at what he's about to, what he's actually, what like this job is putting him in.
At some point, he's like, "What has my life become?"
Right,
is this what it is? The guy recognizes Roller Girl. He was in class with her in high school.
Was he the one
before
that
she
was
dropped
doing
out.
mimicking the
I think it.
blowjob? Is that what
I
he?
think it was. I think it was.
I think so too.
He calls her by her real name. You can tell it catches her off guard, but she won't admit to it. She's like, "No, I'm
Hmm.
wrong." Jack's trying. The guy is basically just trying to put it in a hole and like get it over with. And Jack's trying to tell him like, "This is not how we need to film it. Like, you need to slow down, be sexy, whatever." And it's just not working. Finally, calls cut, and he's like, "Okay, this isn't gonna work. We're done." And Roller Girl's makeup's all messed up, and he's got lipstick all over his face. The guy's pissed off because like you gave me blue ball, you can at least help me out. And Roller Girl's pissed off, and he's like, "Yeah, see, this is what your life has come to." And he tells Jack like, "Your movies suck now." And that's when Jack just fucking loses it. That's when Jack is like, "No, I'm not gonna take shit from this punk." Like, I can see Burt Reynolds being like, "I'm not taking shit from this punk." Like, I can
Yeah,
see
that part
like
was unscripted. He just went off on him.
yeah. Because apparently Burt Reynolds was a grumpy dude in his later years. But I can see like a Burt Reynolds type guy just being like, "I'm not taking shit from this punk." And he beat the hell out of this dude. And then Roller Girl gets out and she beats the hell out of him and stomps him with the roller.
She's like stomping on him.
And yeah, so there's that. So as that limo pulls away, because all these are happening in the same vicinity of each other, the limo pulls away down the street. It goes by where we see Dirk get beat up. It goes down the street. Now we see a station wagon pulling up the same street that passes the limo. And this is where we get Buck and his wife or girlfriend that pull into a donut shop. So I'll say yes, they do use pink boxes out here in donut shops. That is a real thing. That is an actual donut shop that is in the LA area. He pulls. It's late at night. His wife wants some donuts, so he does the right thing and gets his wife some donuts.
She's pregnant too, so
Yeah,
like she's
well,
got
well,
a craving. Yeah.
the thing is, we don't find that out until like he opens the door later, and we see that she's heavily pregnant, right? So
Yeah,
that's
it's
why
like
we see like
right after she says like all
a
of the
couple bear
donuts.
claws, yeah, and then we see like why she wants all this stuff because she's pregnant. So he's doing the right thing by his wife, getting her donuts because she's pregnant and she wants donuts. So you go get her some goddamn donuts. Um, he's got on this white suit. Like I don't know what's going on with the white suit there, but hey, whatever, man. He's in there, and donut shops out here are open like 24 hours, so that is not unusual. Um, so he's like, "Yeah, give me a couple bear claws and apple fritter and this and that." And he goes through, we see some other guy, big burly guy, and I can recognize a couple pins on his hat, so he was probably a Vietnam veteran. Sitting in the corner, drinking his coffee, eating a donut, and then this young punk comes in and holds the place up, right? Don Cheadle kind of goes, Buck kind of goes into scared little guy territory where he's shaking and almost crying. And I'm not knocking for that. Like, I'll be honest with you. Like, I'd probably be the same way. Like, I'm just there.
Especially when you're
Pregnant
about
wife
to
is
have
out there.
you have a pregnant wife out there. She's pregnant, so you're expecting this baby any day, and you just want to be able to see the birth of the child. So you're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
just hoping everything goes good.
Yeah. Like, you just want the dude to get his money and get out of here. And hopefully everything goes off without a hitch. Right. So the guy empties out the cash register and he's like, "No, empty out the safe." This is why a lot of places now have it where the people who run these stores and things don't know the combination to the safe. Like you just need like you can't get into the safe. Like maybe only the manager can, and or the people from Brinks or Garda or whatever these armored car businesses are. They need a code or a key card to get the money out of the safe. And but this was the 80s, so they trusted like the 19-year-old behind the counter with the combination to the safe. And he empties it out, and then we see the big burly Vietnam vet pull a gun out of a holster. He shoots the punk. The punk shoots him. And he ends up shooting the guy behind the counter. And everybody ends up dead. Except for Buck, who's now standing there shaking, scared to death in his white suit, covered in blood and brain matter. And he looks there and he sees a bag full of So, Jordan, I ask you, hey, what did you think of the whole passing in the night scene with the three different stories that are interconnected with each other? And B, you're taking your lovely wife to go get donuts because that's what you do when your wife is pregnant. She's in the car. This happens, and you're still alive. You want to open up a stereo shop. Well, let's say you want to open up a comic book shop,
Mm-hmm.
and the bank has rejected you for money
Because I'm a pornographer.
because you're a
Um,
pornographer.
got an OnlyFans or something. Let's see. I don't think I'm taking the money because in today's day and age, that place has cameras.
1983 day, where they probably
Yeah,
don't have cameras.
in 1983. Yeah, I was wondering if they would have it or not, but
Probably not.
yeah. So look, maybe I'm taking it if nobody else is seeing it and there's no camera. But I was so for the cool little shot there where we're seeing the limo go by, then we're seeing where it's right after uh Dirk is down, right? That we get
Yeah.
the limo going past, then we get Buck
And the
and
station wagon pulling up the other way.
yeah. So I thought that was really cool. Um, I was really like I said, I was really worried about Don Cheadle's character here. I thought he was gonna die, and then when he didn't die, before he's looking down at the money and stuff, I'm like, is he gonna get kind of blamed for this? Like, because we were in the part of the movie where everything is going wrong,
Yeah.
right? So I'm sitting there like, oh my god, he is a person of color.
He's a black guy in a donut shop where three people got shot and someone tried to rob it.
Exactly.
Who are the cops in this area probably going to go after? It's Buck.
Yeah, so that's what I was kind of wondering, and then so I kind of thought it was even when he's looking at the money, I'm like, don't take it because this might have cameras. Like I don't, or like somebody might be seeing you from somewhere and thinking that this is, you doing this. I was kind of worried about that. But it ends up kind of harmless enough where he gets the money and is able to open his shop, which is nice. But at this point, I was really worried we were losing Don Cheadle either in the slammer or 6 feet under.
That's always a possibility. Like under the circumstances you described, like yeah, there's no way unless there's pure video footage that anybody's going to believe he was not the one. He wasn't involved with the robbery in any way, right?
Right.
But this, like you said, this is another scene shot really well, scripted and done really well. Excuse me. I thought this was probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie was the intertwining of these three characters that don't know they're literally right next to each other. All of this is going on. We go back to Dirk and Reed. So Dirk and Reed and their friend Tom, or Todd, played by Thomas Jane, decide that they're going to rob a local drug dealer, Rahad Jackson, played by Alfred Molina. I love Alfred Molina. He's a really good actor. I've seen him in quite a few things. And I always tend to enjoy his work. I saw him he did a Murder on the Orient Express where he played Hercule Poirot.
Yes.
A while back. He did a Lifetime type movie called Not Without My Daughter with Sally Field, based on a real story where he was an Iranian doctor in the early 80s in America. And he eventually takes his wife and his young daughter back to Iran to go visit his family. And while he's there, because the rules and laws there are very different than here in America, he takes her passport and decides they're going to live the Iranian way of life. And it's about her struggle to make it to the American intersection in the Swiss embassy, because America doesn't have an embassy in Iran, before she makes it out and escape with her daughter. Decent film, but it's a Lifetime movie, so I'm probably not its target audience. So yeah, whatever. But
he's actually in a an Amazon series that I had watched that was based off a book. It's kind of like a Sherlockian type role where he is the person that is solving the crimes. You know, he's like the detective in this small town that is solving the crimes. Um, that got canceled after one season or whatever, but it was pretty good. Like, you know, he was great in it. It was like I think it took place in Canada. Um, so it was very like wintertime Canada, lots of snow type of. Each episode is like solving a mystery. Um, that was pretty good. What I'm trying to find the name of it again here. I was just going through his IMDb because, you know, one thing that's crazy about this is that it was only this is only 7 years. No, yeah, 7 years before Spider-Man 2, which he is in. But he looks
Which
so like he looks younger and you know,
thinner.
thinner. Yeah, it's called Three Pines that he was in. It was like 8 episode series on Amazon. But yeah.
So Todd and Dirk and Reed decide, or not necessarily Dirk and Reed. Todd decides they're going to rob a local drug dealer, played by Alfred Molina. Give him a half a kilo of baking soda disguised as cocaine, right? They're going to need some money, and then they can go do more drugs and various other things. So we still see the competition orange Corvette that is now messed up. It is not in good condition anymore, as it was when he first got it a few years back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they even mention like when they're selling this, right? Like it's enough money to get the vet fixed. So
Yeah,
um, seems like
but
that was the plan.
they go in there. Alfred Molina is extremely high, or I'm sorry, Rahad Jackson is extremely high. He's got a very large black man as his bodyguard. He's got a little Chinese guy that's throwing like the little poppets, those little things you get at like 4th of July.
Yeah,
Throw them on the ground and
little
they make
firecracker.
little firecracker type things that pop. And so 80s, they're playing like Jesse's Girl and some other stuff. Something we haven't talked about, the soundtrack to this movie. So it's so awesome.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. This is one thing that I really enjoyed about the movie is the soundtrack. Especially this scene because I'm a big '80s music guy. So like having Jesse's Girl playing and I forget what other song was playing when they first got in there, but um, he and then like the '70s songs during the beginning, I thought were, you know, it was just consistently very good music playing throughout the movie.
So during this scene, I'll give you some of my notes now. During the scene, Alfred Molina wore noise canceling earpieces to appear oblivious to the sound of the firecrackers. The other actors flinching was genuine because there was a lot going on, and they didn't necessarily know when this dude that's like throwing them down is gonna throw them down. So like they're doing the scene, and this guy's I guess Paul Thomas Anderson told him just like, hey, just go with it, throw them where and whenever you want. So he's throwing them at random intervals and everything else. Jesse's Girl by Rick Springfield or Sister Christian by Night Ranger.
Oh yeah, Sister Christian too. Yeah.
Alfred Molina had never heard either song that he sings along to in the film. He's from the UK, and neither song was a hit in the UK. He spent 3 days repeatedly playing them until he knew them so he could sing along with them and kind of like have his persona that goes along. But while they're there, and they've got the money, and you know, Dirk kind of has this realization where like he has a come to Jesus moment with himself where he's like, we need to get out of here. And like they see that this man's bodyguard has a gun, and him and Reed are kind of scared, and they're like, look, that's when Dirk kind of zones out. He tunes everything else out from him. And I think he realizes like this is not the life he wants for himself anymore. He needs help. He just wants to go. So they're trying to go, and that's when old Tom there decides, or Todd there, is like, nah, we want more stuff. I know you got a safe in the bedroom, so on and so forth. And I want what's in the safe. And a shootout happens, and the security guy, guard gets shot. Alpha Molina runs away, and he goes to his bedroom where he's got a shotgun, and Todd busts the door open, and he gets shot with a shotgun, so he's dead. And then they chase out Reed and Dirk. The pet gets shot up, and Reed has to run off. The car starts like rolling away, so Dirk has to hop in and start it up, but then he runs out of gas later. And that's when you realize like he's hit rock bottom. He runs out of gas. He's just there and he realizes he hit rock bottom. And eventually he finds his way back home to I can't think of his name. Damn it.
Jack.
Jack. He finds his way back to Jack. Tells Jack he needs help. He wants to go home. Story ends. We see Roll Girl going back to high school to get her GED. Some shit talked about with Amber when they were high on cocaine one night, where she tells Amber that she wants her to be her mom. There's probably another weird thing because I'm sure those two have gone at it on film at various points during their adult film careers. Amber is making a commercial. She's directing a commercial for Buck in Buck's new stereo place, right? Buck and his wife survive, and they have a little kid, and he's in the pool at Jack's place, and Jack's like, he's not gonna piss in the pool, is he? Jack, he's a baby. Come on, dude. Like, the kid, a baby's gonna pee where he pees. Like, he really didn't have control over that yet. We go to Dirk in the bathroom talking to himself like he does to kind of get him hyped up, going over his line and get himself hyped up because he's about to shoot a scene again with Amber. This is where we finally see it. They didn't hide it anymore. Dirk pulls it out. It was a very large penis. That was a prosthetic penis. Not.
I figured, yeah. I think Mark Wahlberg would be even more famous if it was real.
However, he did take it home with him. He does have possession of it.
Nice.
But apparently it's a 12 or 13-inch prosthetic penis that was enthralling everybody throughout the movie. So what did you think of finally seeing it at the very end? They made us wait till the end.
Yeah. That's, and that's soft, right? So we don't know what it's like.
Yeah, that is not erect.
Can't show erect unless you're NC-17, I believe. So, yeah, that was hey, maybe with it being that big, no wonder Jack was like, yeah, we got to get you in the business, right?
That's why the Colonel was probably like, that thing is majestic.
Let's make some money off of this.
or how he shot his first scene with Amber, and you see the guy behind the camera and little Bill. Yeah. Like, they finally see him take it out, and you see him kind of peek around the camera and look, and they're just like, well, damn. Okay, this is what this is when they were still hiding it from us. But,
Right.
And like you said, they all kind of come back together as a family, and they're living better in this disjointed, not blood, but the family that they chose to be with. Family, right?
Yeah, found family, chosen family, type of movie. His real family wasn't there for him. His mom was awful to him. His dad never stood up for him.
Reed is doing
he finds somebody. Yeah, he finds somebody that a mother that does love him and a father that would stand up for him throughout, whatever. So, and this is how you know that this is his real family that is there for him. Is he screws up, he does all this stuff, he shows up there, and they, Jack just goes over and hugs him and takes him back in, while, when he comes home to his real parents, they're always giving him some sort of grief after him screwing up or whatever. It's not, there's like this almost like unconditional love here between Jack and Amber and Dirk throughout this. Because I was wondering how he would react to him coming back after all the things they said and stuff. But he just goes over, hugs them, and everything is, good.
We also get Maurice that opened up his own nightclub, but they spelled Rodriguez wrong on the neon sign.
You have the Q?
Yeah. We get the colonel who's getting beat the hell out of and abused by his cellmate in prison. Not mad
Yeah.
at that. Not saying it's right. I'm not angry at that. These things happen. Like, should it happen? Probably not. But I don't have a lot of sympathy for him under those circumstances.
Very stereotypical though too. That's what they always say. Is the people that have done stuff to kids get like absolutely walloped
Yeah.
in prison.
Rapists and child molesters don't have a good time in prison. Once again, I'm not saying it's right, but I don't have as much sympathy for him as I probably should. That's probably the best way to put it. All right. So some notes. Let's go. Like I said, you want Leonardo DiCaprio after Basketball Diaries to play Eddie. He enjoyed the screenplay, but he had already signed on to do Titanic. Mark Wahlberg was in Basketball Diaries with Leonardo DiCaprio. So he recommended Mark Wahlberg, and that's how Wahlberg got the role. Joaquin Phoenix was also offered the role, but he turned it down because he didn't want to do anything. He had concerns about playing an adult film star. Bill Murray, Harvey Keitel, Warren Beatty, Albert Brooks, and Sidney Pollack declined or passed on the role of Jack Horner, which eventually went to Burt Reynolds. Samuel L. Jackson had previously worked with Paul Thomas Anderson in a movie called Hard 8, but declined on the role of Buck, which went to Don Cheadle. Heather Graham wasn't considered because he had never seen her do nudity in a film. Her agent called and asked, and she eventually went apart. But also Gwyneth Paltrow, Drew Barrymore, and Tatum O'Neal were also up for the role of Roller Girl. Let's see what else. Because of a negative experience with the studio changing his film's title, Paul Thomas Anderson incorporated Boogie Nights into the opening shot of the film as a physical sign. So they really couldn't mess with his title that much. William H. Macy's agent didn't want him to discourage him from reading the script. Didn't want him to read the script because of the adult film connection, but he read the script, loved it, and that's how he signed on. So, after the scene with Dirk and his mother, Joanna Gleason, who plays his mother in the film, was talking to Paul Thomas Anderson, asked him if the material reflected something that happened between Anderson and his mom in his own life. He got quiet. He didn't want to answer the question, kind of moved on. Apparently, Gleason put her hand on his shoulder and said, "You don't have to forgive her." Basically saying, like, look, it's not your fault. Some people are just like that. You don't have to forgive people in your past. Apparently, years later, in an interview with Mark Maron, Anderson reported he went back to his mother's home at some point, got down on his hands and knees, and apologized to his mother for his attitude toward her in the past, not being more understanding. Every family's different. Paul Thomas Anderson spent some time hanging out with adult actor Ron Jeremy to research the film. He was going to have a cameo, but that got cut. He was going to be in the prison cell with the colonel, but worked it around. Burt Reynolds regretted making the movie, right? He saw a rough cut of the film. He didn't like what he saw. He fired his agent immediately. He didn't do any promotion for the film, any interviews. Kind of talked badly about everything that he went through. Wasn't a fan of the film, so on and so forth. Burt Reynolds ends up winning a Golden Globe for the role, and he gets nominated for an Academy Award. He was the front runner that year for the Academy Award. However, it's rumored that he didn't win because he spoke so ill of the film and he distanced himself from it. And then once he came up for the award, he kind of tried to backtrack a little bit on it, and that's why some people may not have voted for him for the Academy. So Amber's custodial issues were inspired by a true story. The judge in that scene was played by adult actress Veronica Hart, who had some issues with her and an ex-husband over custody that kind of went somewhere around the same way. Burt Reynolds did turn down the role several times. Some people say 7. I've heard more. I've heard less. He felt like he was selling out, let his fans down. Apparently, he told Paul Thomas Anderson maybe Angler wasn't interested, leave him alone, stop bothering him. Anderson told him if he can carry that attitude with him in the film, he could be nominated for an Oscar. His agent pushed him to do it because he hadn't really had any work or a decent offer in a long time. And he got the Academy Award nomination. The prosthetic penis was made from easily biodegradable rubber and foam combination, which, according to Mark Wahlberg, it started to deteriorate. Paul Thomas Anderson had the role of Scotty with Philip Seymour Hoffman in mind. Hoffman said when he read the script, he was stunned to learn that the subject matter was the adult film industry. Apparently, so this story is very, very loosely based on the life, like I said, some things that happened with the adult actor John Holmes. Apparently, being in the bathroom, talking to himself and hyping himself up was something that Holmes used to do before his scenes, because it's usually the only room on set or in the house that has a lock on the door. Mark Wahlberg didn't want to do the film after Showgirls, which came out in '95, had failed horribly, but he read the script and decided, why not? This was Heather Graham's first career nude scene. She said in an interview she was glad she did it on her first day on set so she could kind of get it over with. So people kind of like, looking forward to seeing it. Apparently, the long static shot of Dirk in Jackson's house, where his expression changed, where he's kind of drugged out, and then he kind of has that like come to Jesus moment with himself, was improvised. Studio executive gave notes to Paul Thomas Anderson to cut the shot down. Anderson refused, stating he thought it was the best shot in the entire film. There were rumors of a Boogie Nights 2, but Paul Thomas Anderson said it was false because he doesn't do sequels. Lena Anderson and Reynolds didn't get along. Apparently, they actually got into a fist fight at one point. A lot of people really didn't like Reynolds on set. Some people accused him of being on drugs and or alcohol during most of his filming. But Anderson actually offered him a role in Magnolia, his next film that came out in '99, but Reynolds turned it down. Before he passed away, he was doing interviews to talk about his memoir. Reynolds said he thought he'd never work with Paul Thomas Anderson again. So personality-wise, we didn't fit. He was young and full of himself. Every shot we did, he thought it was the first shot that had ever been done like that. And he said he did his picture with Paul Thomas Anderson, and that was enough for him. Like I said, in the continuous shot where Little Bill is talking with Kurt about Kurt's trying to talk about the movie scene coming up, and Little Bill's flustered because his wife is sleeping with a guy and has a crowd around him cheering him on like 20 feet away. He flubbed his lines, but like I said, Anderson kept it in. Like I said, there's the issue of Burt Reynolds doesn't have an issue, has an issue with Paul Thomas Anderson. Mark Wahlberg became a devoted Catholic and a father later in his life, and stated in an interview that he hoped God would forgive him for his poor career choices, with Boogie Nights being on the top of the list. So he doesn't necessarily regret being in the movie, but he wouldn't really be able to explain it to his kids or the subject matter to his kids anymore. Heather Graham didn't really get any roles for about a year after Boogie Nights. And she was apparently seriously considering taking a part in a softcore adult film because she wasn't getting any work. Then she got an offer from Mike Ryers to do Austin Powers: The Spy Who Shagged Me in 1999. She really doesn't talk about Boogie Nights or answer any questions about it. She didn't go back for any retrospectives or any cast reunions. Paul Paul Thomas Anderson has a group of actors that he works with through a lot of his films, but those three are obviously not on. Um, so the last scene, the scene where they are attempting to rob Jackson, that's very loosely based on something called the Wonderland murders that people believe John Holmes was involved in. Long story short, there was a gangster named Eddie Nash out here in the Los Angeles area who was robbed. People had seen John Holmes several times that day going back and forth to Eddie Nash's place. John Holmes had a handprint at the scene. A bloody handprint was left at the scene. They robbed Eddie Nash. They took a bunch of stuff. The people who robbed him were later found beaten and bludgeoned to death with hammers and crowbars in a very, very violent murder. They were never able to convict Holmes. Eddie Nash, in his later years, agreed to a plea bargain. He did go on trial once, but it was declared a mistrial or hung jury because it was 11-1. Apparently, he later admitted in life that he was able to bribe the one juror to find him not guilty and stick with the not guilty bribe. But he had cancer, some horrible illness, and spent the last years of his life in prison and passed away. So the scene where little Bill kills his wife, they were originally going to show him actually shooting. So we see he goes in the bedroom door, and we see him shoot into the bedroom, like 3 shots, 2 at one person, 1 at another, and then he goes out and takes his own life. But we were actually gonna, or I think they might have actually filmed like what was going on inside the bedroom and them getting killed, but it was apparently too disturbing, so it was cut. So IMDb, it has a 7.9 out of 10. Metacritic, it is rated 86, has universal acclaim. With 28 critic reviews, it has a user score of 8.4. Rotten Tomatoes, 91 on the tomato meter, 89 on the popcorn meter. So I watched this today for the first time in quite a few years, like I said. I forgot it was 2.5 hours long. It is a slow burning movie.
We've done 2 very long movies back to back.
So it's 2.5 hours long, but for me, it wasn't that bad. It is a slow burning movie. Like you said, we get to the halfway point of the new year in 1980, which is literally around the halfway point of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where everything changes, right? That's where everybody's life starts going astray and going downhill. But up until then, it's a roller coaster, man. They're riding high. They're doing the loop-de-loops and all this other stuff. But then that crash is hard. I don't know if this is a movie I can watch on a regular basis. Like I can't put this movie in like 3-4 times a year and watch it, partially because it's such a slow burn. But I'd still give it like a 4.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed the movie. I don't think I've seen anything else Paul Thomas Anderson has done. But I think this is more of a family story. Like we talked about, the family that you choose or family that chooses you. It just happens to be in the backdrop of cocaine in the adult film industry. But I think it's definitely an enjoyable movie. It's not for everybody. I will readily admit that. But I enjoyed it. I give it a 4.5. What do you say, Jordan?
Okay. Any guesses?
About a 2.5.
You said 2.5?
Yeah.
Music was very good. Burt Reynolds, very good performance by Burt Reynolds.
Reynolds was awesome in this.
Yeah,
he really was.
He really was. Shot very well by Paul Thomas Anderson and his cinematographer. I have this as a 3.5 out of 5. Like you said, though, not a movie I'm probably revisiting a lot. So maybe in the future I'll rewatch it at some point. But this is very much like a good movie, potentially great movie. On depending on how things change with me sitting on it a bit, but not one I'm popping in like a yearly rewatch or anything.
I think this is also a movie that benefits and suffers because of the lack of cable now. So it benefits because between the language, the nudity, and the stuff that they would obviously have to cut out on like TNT,
Mm-hmm.
TBS, or stuff like that. Like, not that it's a different movie, but like it kind of would butcher the movie for the stuff that they would have to cut out or bleep or blur or do whatever on this movie to get it to show on like a basic cable, or maybe it would survive on an FX or something. I don't know what FX's standards on like language and nudity and stuff
Right.
are. It's been so long since I cable, so. But I think it hurts it because this is one of those where like if I was flipping through a channel and I saw it on and I couldn't find anything else to watch, I'd probably pop it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'd probably pop it on and watch the rest of it, or like I could play on my phone to do other stuff while this is going on and keep it on in the background because I know the movie. But once again, I'm afraid how much they would butcher it. Like
Right.
This couldn't be shown on like network television, I think, in any way.
No.
But even a TBS or TNT cut would be.
Oof. No, this would be like it has to be FX if they allowed it.
After 10 o'clock.
Right, or HBO, Showtime, Cinemax,
yeah,
those type of things. But yeah, no. So that is good movie. I didn't really know where it was going to go. At some points, I thought it was almost like a slice of life type movie where we were just going to follow, before we get to the kind of fall of everything. I was kind of like, oh, we're just kind of having a good time watching all this stuff. You can start to see, like I was starting to get a little weary when he gets introduced to the cocaine. I'm like, okay, maybe this is where he starts kind of losing it a bit. But are we ready for stats?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, guess what? This is not an adaptation of anything, so we do not have to add that to anything.
This is an original.
This is not a franchise. So we add +1 for Paul Thomas Anderson direction. So he's got one movie on our list here. Actor-wise, we have a lot of +1s right now. Most of these people are stuck at 1. But I added them because this is a pretty stacked cast, and we might see some of these people again. We got Mark Wahlberg, 1 film, John C. Reilly, Burt Reynolds, Julianne Moore, Heather Graham, William H. Macy, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Don Cheadle, Alfred Molina as 1 film.
Like I said earlier, man, like a lot of these people might have just been on the come up when this came out, but you look back now and you're like, Jesus, this cast was stacked. Like,
yep. Genre, Letterboxd says drama. So
I can see genre or drama, yeah.
So that's our first drama. Compared to other stuff, we had like crime, thriller, horror, adventure, fantasy.
I don't know what else you could classify this as.
Right. There's some comedy in it, but I wouldn't call it a straight up comedy. So I think drama is fine.
I don't think there's enough comedy in it to really count comedy in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Main characters. I only put Dirk Diggler here. I didn't know who else if I should maybe put like Jack maybe or Amber. So I only put Dirk, which is our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th D name. Dirk Diggler. So all right, that is our stats. Not a lot to add here. But there we
We
go.
might add on later, like you said, mainly from the cast.
Yeah.
I could see some of these people coming up, maybe in something else we've done, but just the fact that like
All right. So what we're watching next? Any guesses?
I don't know because you said you were having trouble trying to figure it out, so I don't know where you're
We
going.
are going back to the James Bond universe, and we're gonna watch Skyfall, which is the third of the Daniel Craig Bond movies. So I think it's one that has probably some of the best response. Like I think it's like Casino Royale and Skyfall that people really like from the new one. So we're gonna talk some James Bond again.
Did you see the Bond rumors that came out this week?
This week, no, I didn't see any this week.
I saw in one or two places, so I don't know how big of a rumor it is, but apparently, I think they said Aaron Taylor Johnson was officially offered the role of 007.
Oh, really?
But like I said, I saw that a few.
Well,
Like,
just remember that was like the rumor almost a year ago when we were doing this, right? As well. So
apparently, he might have been officially offered the role, but I haven't heard anything. Like, I didn't see any rumors on like whether or not he had accepted or if there's negotiations going on or how that's going to work. Especially considering now it's an Amazon property, so who knows how they're going to. I'd say who knows how they're going to fuck that up. Like, I don't have a lot of confidence.
hey, I will say we'll probably talk about it next time. I have a little bit more faith in it due to the director attached. So I will kind of do a catch up on any Bond
Rumors.
stuff, Bond rumors, where the franchise is heading. But yeah, so we'll probably dive into all of that next time. You did mention it; it's an Amazon property now. All of these movies are on Prime, so Skyfall is on Prime right now for people to watch. So, so that's where you can watch it. But yeah, should be good. Anything else before we move on?
I am definitely interested in. I'm looking forward to our new extra wild card there because I already know what I'm picking for it.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I don't know when. I don't know when I'm going to pick it, but I already know what I'm going to pick. And I think
do we have any like stipulations? Does it have to be like a streaming movie, or is it just like any movie we see on there that
I say something on streaming? So Netflix, Amazon, Peacock, one of the streaming services that we have.
Yeah, but does it have to be like an original to there that like, or is it just like if you find it on there, it's cool?
If you find it on there, it's fine.
Okay.
But something, it's meant to be something neither of us have watched. Where it's just
yes. Like, yeah.
What the? Well, let's put it this way. I don't know exactly how I'm going to work it because I have a couple choices with my choice.
Mm-hmm.
So we may go back to something we do. We may do a 2-for-1 again. I don't know.
Interesting. How would that work? Like, you mean like, is it like a remake and an original that you haven't seen that you're thinking of?
Okay, so I'll say this. So you know how last year, or was it the year before, a couple years ago, Steamboat Willie came into the public domain.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So people started making
horror movies of everything,
all
Winnie
their
the
stuff,
and
all their stuff because of these characters that have come into the public domain because now they're free to use. It's something that multiple places or multiple studios have decided to make a movie with this character, and it's like these cannot be good in any way, shape, or form. So it's one of those like, well, I might as well because it'll be something we can just. If it's something we both trash, then so be it. It's something we both trash. I'm looking forward to it. Let's have the car wreck. Like at least we know the car wreck is coming and we can brace for
Yeah, well, we could even do that for some because we'll have the third Knives Out movie coming out too if we wanted to
Well, isn't that one
cover
coming out
that.
in theaters first and then it's coming to streaming after?
It's well, technically Netflix has to do that for it to be awards eligible.
Yeah.
So they kind
So
of
it's
do
gonna
like
be
a
out in the
limited.
theaters for a couple
It's a,
weeks or something. And
yeah, and it's also like limited number of theaters. So it's not going to play everywhere. And then it's technically a Netflix original movie. So, um, but
I'll be
yeah, so
honest with
I
you,
think it comes out around Christmas or something.
I was always planning on watching that movie anyway, just because I did enjoy the first two.
Yeah, same.
So that was like whether I hadn't thought about that being incorporated into the pod. If it is great, maybe we do a special episode after we both watch it just to talk
Just
about it
talk
because
about
we're
it.
both seeing it for the first time. Like I
Yeah,
don't know, we
that
can
could be
always do
fun.
that. But that was something I was definitely going on my list. I just honestly I wasn't sure if I was going to go see it in theaters or if I was going to just watch it streaming.
I'm probably just gonna have to end up watching it streaming because a lot of times my wife will be like, "Do you have to go see this in theaters? When does it come out on streaming?" And I'm
Yeah,
like,
well, you got the kid, and you
"Yeah,
either got to take
yeah,
the kid with you or find a babysitter.
right, right."
Then you got to decide if you want to take the wife with you or if you're going solo. And then I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure if you go solo, but now your wife's home with the kid by herself, you're gonna pay that tab later at some point.
Well, the good thing
So
is I wouldn't leave her alone. We have so much family that's willing to help that she'd probably have help. But yeah,
you're
your
gonna have to
point's
pay.
taken.
You're gonna pay that back later. Like it's
Hey, she's going to see Wicket Part 2 with her friend. She saw Wicket Part 1 with her friend and then took me the second time she saw it. So she gets out of the house. But yeah.
I'm just saying, like it's more than just like me.
Yeah. It's
Single,
not as
live alone.
easy
I
as it
have to
used
just
to be.
decide.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go watch this movie. You have
I
many other
mean,
things to consider.
before the kid, I would like sometimes because she sleeps in. I would sometimes go to early matinees for cheap and catch a movie I needed to see. Um, for like $8 or less, and would go at like 10 a.m. or earlier,
Yeah.
which was great. But those days are gone at this point. So until he's old enough to go with me, I guess. But yeah, so we'll talk Skyfall and all things James Bond next episode. So make sure you check that out. All of our socials are in the links below. You can follow us if you're listening to us audibly. You can listen. You can also watch us on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, and vice versa. If you're on YouTube and you want to listen to us on the podcast, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff. So thank you all for watching or listening along, and we will catch you next time when we talk Skyfall.